Afternoon.
Afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. We will just give it a minute or two to make sure that everyone joins before we start.
It is also being live streamed on LinkedIn, our page on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, and so many other places.
Okay, Dr. Zhu, go ahead and start.
Yes, we can.
Good evening. Assalamu alaikum, colleagues, wherever you are. My name is Layala Al-Ahmadiyya, studying Master of Education and Educational Leadership in the College of Art and Science at Abu Dhabi University. I will be your MC for the Use of Technology in Hybrid Education Professional Development Certificate. Professor Philipp Hamill, Associate Provost for Research and Academic Development at ADU. Dr. Hamad Audabi, Director of Abu Dhabi University's Al Ain Campus and Dubai Campus, Acting Vice Chancellor for Administrative and Financial Affairs. Dr. Sriti Nair, Dean of College of Arts and Sciences at ADU. Distinguished colleagues. It is our pleasure to welcome you in our fourth Professional Development Certificate, Use of Technology in Hybrid Education, part of EDU 2030 Future of Education series. To start our Professional Development Certificate, allow me to invite the Dean of College of Arts and Sciences at ADU, Dr. Sriti Nair, to welcome you all.
Okay, thank you, Layal. And I apologize on behalf of Dr. Sriti. She's having a commitment. So I will be doing the welcoming on her behalf. It's a pleasure to have you all, colleagues, on this evening. And as Layal mentioned, good evening or good morning, according to the place that you are living in. Again, it's a pleasure to have you and welcome you on our fourth Professional Development Certificate, Use of Technology in Hybrid Education as part of ADU 2030 Future of Education series. This series, actually, it's part of our ADU Corporate Social Responsibility Initiative, offers Professional Development Certificate for educators, school leaders, to equip them with the competences to educate future learners, be agents of change in their schools, and prepare them for the future challenge. And I think this topic during this time is an important topic to cover and to talk about. Allow me to thank our colleagues for their great support, starting from Dr. Philipp for his guest speech, being there with us to highlight the importance of such activity. Dr. Hamad Audabi, the Al Ain and Dubai Campus Director and the Acting Vice Chancellor in Abu Dhabi University. Dr. Costa, the Associate Professor of Education in Education Department, College of Arts and Science, and Dr. Shafia, the Chair of Education Department, Dr. Hirim Hashim, the Assistant Professor of Education and Leadership, and Dr. Muhammad Ghazal, the Chair of Electrical Engineering Department and the Professor of Electrical. And also allow me to thank Ms. Layal for our MC for her great involvement with us during this week. And as she said, she's one of our Master of Education Leadership students. And she's a great student, by the way, joining our program. So thanks for her, and thanks also for our IT team and marketing team, Al Ain Campus office, for their great work for making this activity happening. Hope you will enjoy it, and it's also our pleasure again to welcome you in this evening. Yes, Leal.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Steha. Our first session is with our guest speaker, Professor Philipp Hamill, Associate Provost for Research and Academic Development. Professor Hamill joined Abu Dhabi University as Associate Provost for Student Success in 2019. Prior to this, he was Director of the Learning Division at the Emirates Institute for Banking and Financial Studies, UAE, and held senior academic positions in Northern Ireland, including Professor of Finance at Ulster University and Dean of the Institute of Banking at University College Dublin. An expert in banking and financial services education, Professor Hamill has a wealth of experience from both academic and professional practice in teaching and learning, assessment strategy, student engagement, and faculty development. After gaining his undergraduate, postgraduate, and PhD qualifications from Ulster University, Northern Ireland, Professor Hamill went on to achieve an executive MBA awarded jointly by the London School of Economics, New York University, and HEC Paris. He is a fellow of the Higher Education Academy, a member of the Chartered Institute for Securities and Investment, and has been published in leading finance and accounting journals, books, and professional publications. Professor Hamill, the mic is yours.
Well, thank you for the introduction, Leah. I've forgotten about my professional education, so it's always a bit strange when you hear people reading out a biography about yourself. First of all, I'd like to thank the Department of Education, CAS, for the invitation to be here today. As you can see from my bio, I have a very wide ranging background. It's not your typical academic background. It spans professional practice in finance, mainstream academia, but also probably rather uniquely moving from academia such as ADU to work for a professional banking institute, which is totally professionally focused on specific professions that people have to work in. So you see the contrast between what people need for specific jobs and what's required, both from a regulatory and from the business needs perspective, and also the much broader agenda in terms of developing typically your 18-year-olds who are joining universities and trying to develop subject-specific knowledge. And we talk a lot about employability in terms of what that means for developing other important transferable skills. And I briefly touch upon, we talk about graduate attributes, we talk about transferable skills, we talk about future work skills, and the Ministry of Education surveys our students and asks them questions about 21st century skills. So what does all of that mean? So everyone's asking for a lot from higher education. What I would say, first and foremost, that I appear to have a very, very background, but basically what it boils down to is education. Education, different types of group, undergraduate, postgraduate, in research-led universities and mixed model universities and professional banking institutes. So first and foremost, I would consider myself an educator within the subject area, and then later on in my career, someone who has obviously a wider remit in terms of institutional policy and strategy from an educational perspective. So I'm seeing at the micro level from teaching a course, trying to achieve a course learning outcome, but also from a policy level. One of the projects I worked on when I first arrived here was developing national occupational standards for the banking sector. And the one message that I'd like to get across today is that there's no substitute for quality education, and everyone on this planet deserves a quality education, okay? Because quality education ultimately is about social justice, the way you make people's lives better. And the one thing that I'm really adamant about and dogmatic about in life is the value of education. You know, if you come from a background and environment where you really do know that education does change people's lives, well then that time spent in education is invaluable for that person. But also the flip side of that coin is people who want to get a good education and for whatever reason don't get it, either through the system that they're in, the quality of the education, and it really is a cost that's very, very high across the globe. So what I'll do, I'll share my screen, I'll put together a few slides that I thought summarized some of my views and opinions, and I by no means claim to be a guru and all knowledgeable about education. And really what I'm going to do is share my experiences, my career in terms of the topic here today. Okay, so can you all see my screen okay? Yeah.
Yes, Doctor. Thank
you.
So the first thing to note here is that the topic of this conference, and it's about technology in education. Now, in the COVID area, in the COVID era, we all had to move very, very rapidly to distance education, online education, depending upon how you classify it. But basically, the students and the faculty had to acquire very, very quickly the knowledge, skills, and competencies to move to a non-face-to-face environment. Okay, there's been a lot of benefits, but there's upsides and there's downsides to that model. And the point that I would like to make, is that in terms of education, education equals social justice. So in the big picture, in the big scheme of things globally, there's a huge imbalance in terms of access to quality education, right? So we tend to talk very often about technology at the micro level as an enabler for delivering courses and programs, but it's important to focus on the big picture. The big picture is that the way you change people's lives, the way you achieve social justice is through access to education. We all want to eradicate inequality. We all want people to have a decent standard of living. Although how we define that now is really enshrined in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So you see here in my slide, I've just quickly got the graphic for each of those Sustainable Development Goals, and it covers basically every area of human life. One of those core goals is access to quality education. So why is technology so important? Well, you can approach this from many different aspects, but what I would say is technology has the key to be the enabler to provide that education on a much more global scale. When you break down an educational experience, we talk about the student experience and the student journey, the core of that is the teaching, learning, and assessment on the program, right? Now, technology has the capacity to deliver that core teaching, learning, and assessment and enable people to acquire the knowledge, skills, and competencies to make them better educated and much more economically active within the societies with which they come from. So the possibilities here for technology to make a significant contribution to social justice is absolutely huge. And I would say one of the big benefits of the COVID transition period, which no one would have wished for, and we've gone through it, so we're here, is that people are now much more accepting of the use of technology. You know, e-learning and distance learning was a bit of a niche for a lot of universities in the West. It was a bit of a trend 15, 20 years ago. It has died off somewhat, and we do have some online provision, but it never took off to the extent that it was promised. Now, I think for the model of a lot of the Western universities, it doesn't fit, okay? What those universities promise is a holistic, full suite student experience. What their promise is the bricks and mortar, the environment, the program, which is the core, but they also promise the students' union, the sports pitch, the hockey pitch, the swimming club, lots of these add-ons, which is all part of the student experience. Now, the reality is for the vast majority of people, that's a luxury. Okay, that's a nice luxury to have in rich countries. But if the core is the education, well, simply the ability to deliver that core, which is the educational experience, is really, really important. And what COVID has shown us is that this can be done, that people can use technology effectively to deliver education. So one of the benefits that I would hope for from the COVID pandemic is that educational technology is now much more accepted, and it can become an enabler to achieve social justice to a much greater scale by improving access to quality education. And that will lead to an improvement of people's lives. Education improves the lives of individuals. It improves their economic opportunities. It improves the economic opportunities of their families, their communities, the societies that they come from. It's very often said there's two things that people really care about. Well, it's health and wealth. Well, in order to access high quality health and to generate wealth, you do need a decent education. So for me, the focus is really, really important on the big picture in terms of education. Next, then, if we move on to at a more micro level, when we think about education, what are the key aspects that we really need to think about? Well, when you talk to an institution, right, and you ask it what it does, very often they'll say we do teaching, we do research, we do innovation. They might do some other activities, they might do some consulting, but at the core, it's teaching, research, and innovation. Now, given my background, when you work in a professional context and you work for an institute which is much more job specific and job focused, employers see this somewhat differently, right? What employers want is a signal from the market, from the university that says, this university says it does X, and I know if I employ a graduate from this university, they'll be able to deliver X. That's what accreditation is. Ultimately, what universities offer is accreditation of learning. This is what the student can do, and we're going to put a rubber stamp of approval on it. And that solves a major problem in the labour market. It sends signals to potential employers of what they expect from a certain type of graduate, okay? So the $1 million question then becomes, well, what is quality education? Well, we talk about accredited education. There are local accreditors. So for example, in the UAE, we have the Commission for Academic Accreditation, which accredits third level institutions. We have lots of other accrediting bodies for individual degree programs, for example, architecture, engineering. We have accreditation for colleges. In the business area, we have ACWIS, ASCSB. So there's lots and lots of accrediting bodies, but ultimately what those bodies are about and the standards that they impose is about saying, here's the signal, here's the quality of the signal, here's how good our graduates are going to be. That brings us to academic integrity. Okay, so what is academic integrity in terms of quality? Well, for me, accreditation and quality have two really important characteristics. The first is academic integrity. And what academic integrity says is this is a robust assessment system that we can stand over the fact whatever grade the student has been given, this is the grade that they deserve. Now, that's a very low bar. That's a pretty low bar by any standard globally. But academic integrity is a necessary first step to ensure the quality of any educational system. Okay, so we talk about accredited education. That's the signal to the market. But there's a higher bar, a much, much higher bar. And the second dimension of academic quality for me is the basis of teaching, learning, and assessment. Okay, I'm a great fan of advanced HE in the UK. I was the first generation of academics where when you got an academic appointment, a research position within a university, you also had to complete a graduate certificate in higher education practice. And once you completed that graduate certificate, you became a member of advanced HE in the UK, which is essentially the professional body for teaching and learning in higher education in the UK. Now, I knew lots about econometrics, I knew lots about finance, I knew lots about research, I knew lots about modeling, but I didn't know a whole lot about teaching, learning, and assessment. Okay, and what that did was it plugged in the gap as an educator as opposed to a researcher. And the global movement, I think, is important, that a lot of environments are moving towards ensuring that those people that stand in front of students, whether it's in higher education or elsewise, have got high quality professional qualifications in teaching, learning and assessment. Now, this model here at the bottom of the screen, the basics, which I'm sure the vast majority of people listening are familiar with. We talk about a virtuous cycle in terms of teaching, learning activities. We've got our learning objectives, learning outcomes, and we have feedback and assessment methods. I think one of the things we've maybe lost sight of in the COVID pandemic is an over-enthusiasm for educational technology. We've seen that there's lots of technology available. In my previous role working in Dublin, one of the projects that I had the lead on was taking traditional master's level qualifications, which are being delivered one night a week in the major city in Ireland, Dublin, over 12 weeks with some continuous assessment and an end of term exam, your traditional academic model. But that wasn't the challenge. The challenge was to make these qualifications accessible to all members of the community across the entire island of Ireland. So that was an interesting project. So if someone lives 5 hours away from Dublin, well, how do they get to Dublin on a Tuesday night when they finish work at 3 o'clock with a 5-hour drive? It's just not possible. So what I was responsible for was delivering a teaching, learning and assessment strategy, effectively a hybrid teaching, learning and assessment strategy with an e-learning assessment strategy. And I'll explain the difference between the two in a minute, to ensure that we were able to provide access to qualifications so that no one was disadvantaged across the island of Ireland, that any member of this institute would be able to access the qualifications. Now that was a real fundamental learning curve in terms of teaching, learning and assessment. And if I could offer 2 or 3 key insights, the first thing I would say is that in order for there to be a really high quality teaching, learning and assessment experience, you don't need lots of technology. You can actually get away with a really high quality teaching, learning, assessment experience with relatively straightforward, limited technology. And the reason for that is because technology, remember, is the enabler. It is the key enabler of making things happen. What is more important to get right to begin with is the instructional design process which underpins the production and the development of these courses in an e-learning or a hybrid format, okay? Now, when you convert a traditional course which is delivered in a very linear way, say over one module, 1 day a week, compared to how you would design a course for hybrid or blended learning, it is fundamentally different, okay? But if it's done well, it's a really, really high quality learning experience. Now, the instructional design principles need to be embedded in the teaching, learning and assessment. The culture needs to be different. The students need to be engaged. We talk about flipped classroom, which is an element of this as well. But if it is done really, really well, from an instructional design point of view, you avoid technology overkill. It's not technology for technology's sake. It's technology as an enabler for ensuring a high quality teaching, learning and assessment experience. So that is a positive message. I think the reason it's a positive message is because it tells us that we can use enough technology that we have, which is probably globally available, and that people in rural areas, anyone who has access to internet of any description, should be able to access high quality education. Obviously, there's better technology, there's more expensive technology, but I would argue that we can develop really high quality teaching, learning and assessment in a hybrid or a distance learning environment to improve access to education across the globe. And if there's more technology to help that, well, that's obviously even better. What we want to avoid when we're doing instructional design is technology overkill. It has to be the right technology for the right reasons to achieve the right learning outcome. Okay. So what is the real benefit of high quality, primarily assessment? Okay. Well, I recall many years ago, I was asked to sit on a validation panel for what would be regarded as a very elite university in the United Kingdom. It was a friend of mine asked me to come along. I think he thought it was going to be a rubber stamping exercise to prove the course, and we all had dinner and we all headed off. One of the key claims of this program was that it was going to develop students' teamwork ability. Okay, this is fine, that sounds good. So I read all the documentation, and nowhere in the course outlines, there's a graduate program, I think about 12 courses, that I find any reference to formative assessment of group work activity. I simply couldn't find it anywhere. So if we don't have formative or summative assessment, which is constructively aligned between the learning outcomes and the assessment strategy and instruments, you simply can't develop achieve either the course learning outcomes or develop these other wider skills that are now what we're now being told in so much demand. So depending upon the language, we're told that graduate attributes is one definition which is used a lot in the UK. If we also talk about future work skills, is being used a lot by the OECD, and our students are surveyed by the Ministry of Education every year about 21st century skills. And we have a list of 21st century skills which are embedded in this diagram here, okay? So if people who are developing courses don't understand the basics of teaching, learning, and assessment, well, then it's going to be very difficult to develop a very high quality teaching, learning, and assessment experience. The Graduate Attributes Project, one of the things we're working on here at Abu Dhabi University, is getting back to this concept of the signal to the market, right? When you graduate from any university, you need to be able to say to employers, this is what we produce. This is the type of graduate you're going to get. Here's the knowledge, skills, and competencies that this person will have. Now, unfortunately, in some disciplines, there tends to be an over-focus on the subject knowledge, skills, and competencies, right? An obsession with the subject matter material. But increasingly, we're being told that what's valued by employers and what will be valued going forward is the ability to deliver on what we have here, which we would describe as some of our key graduate attributes. So critical thinking is important, effective communication, the ability to be innovative and creative. Can you solve problems? Can you use digital and technological tools in the workplace? Are you able to take part in a team to get a project completed? Are you able to lead that team? So teamwork and leadership are interlinked between the two. And increasingly, we go back to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, I think it was on our first slide, ethical and social responsibility. The one thing that COVID has taught all of us is that we're all interconnected. We have I think it's COP21 in Glasgow taking place soon. We now have the US back on board in terms of climate change. And COVID tells us all that we're interconnected, that this is a global problem that we all need to solve. So having that social conscious and that understanding that we're all connected, I think people now really do realize that, hey, we need to find some solutions here, and sustainable development goals and research and innovation are going to be some of those solutions. What we also put in here as well, you can see at the bottom right hand, is wellness. COVID has taught all of us that we're human beings. It taught all of us to slow down. It taught all of us that there's isolation. A lot of people are isolated. A lot of people found it difficult. And one of the things we're focusing on is an appreciation and understanding that within this concept of graduate attributes, an all-encompassing concept would be wellness, whether it be physical or mental wellness. So we here are working very hard to embed these attributes, these future work skills, 21st century skills, whatever you want to call them, across the curriculum, across every major, from entry level into the university, what would have been called previously the university college. So basically your first year within university general education, and also across degree majors. So we have the accredited side of your degree, where we'll embed the graduate attributes, but also we provide lots and lots of opportunities for students who on the co-curricular will have the opportunity to develop lots of the graduate attributes we're talking about here as well. So the idea being that if you make most use of what's put on offer in a holistic education, well, then you have the opportunity not only to develop your subject-specific skills, but also to develop a range of graduate attributes which will be useful now and also in the future. Okay. So there we go. So that's my brief summary of what I thought would be interesting from an educational technology conference. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take.
Thanks a lot, Professor Hamill. Well, before starting our program and for a successful completion of the certificate, kindly be informed of the following guidelines and ensure that you comply with them. To access the recorded sessions and get your certificate of completion or certificate of attendance, you need to register in ADU community portal. Participants who submit the final reflection will get a certificate of completion. Participants who choose not to submit the final reflection will receive a certificate of attendance. For those choosing to submit the reflection, the deadline will be on November 4, 2029, 11:59 p.m. Abu Dhabi, UAE timing. To have access to translation during the sessions, kindly download the Microsoft Translate. IT department will provide you with the code during the sessions. You can write your comments in the chat box. You can use the Q&A option in both Mentimeter or Zoom to ask any questions related to the topic, and the presenter will answer questions accordingly. You can also use the raise hand button on Zoom in case you want to speak. Our last module will be changed from October 21 to October 24 because of Prophet Muhammad's, may peace be upon him, birthday, also known as Al-Mawlid al-Nabawi Sharif in Arabic. We wish you all a great learning journey. During the use of technology in hybrid education professional development certificate, 5 modules will be covered. Module 1, Instructional Design and Educational Technology. Module 2, Technology Integration in the Classroom. Module 3, Assessment and Distance Learning. Module 4, Engaging Students in Distance Learning. And Module 5, Artificial Intelligence in Education. Module 1, Instructional Design and Educational Technology, will be delivered by Dr. Hamad Ibrahim Ali Audabi. Dr. Hamad Audabi is the director of Abu Dhabi University's Al Ain campus and Dubai campus, acting vice chancellor for administrative and financial affairs. He has over 2 decades of experience in academic and research leadership roles in higher education and technology in the United Kingdom and the UAE. Before joining Abu Dhabi University in July 2019, Dr. Audabi spent almost 16 years with the higher colleges of technology in the UAE. As Executive Dean of Computer Science and Applied Communications, he built a dynamic and collaborative team with department chairs and faculty across 17 colleges. Student enrollment increased significantly and 2 programs received international accreditation. In addition, he introduced a new sponsored Bachelor of Science in Archiving in collaboration with the Department of Research and Documentation of Abu Dhabi, and initiated a Master of Information Systems Management. Dr. Audabi earned a Master of Science in Computer Simulation Modeling and a PhD Java Iconic Visual Environment for Simulation Modeling from Brunel University, UK. He has authored or co-authored over 20 research papers in international journals and conferences on educational technology, education and training, and web-based education. Dr. Hamad, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Layali. I was happy to hear you saying my long name. I have a longer than that one, but that's good enough. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I can see we have already 855 on Zoom, and there are many on social media, LinkedIn, 110, and there are other places like YouTube and Facebook. I'm sure they have their own numbers. And looking at the comments on LinkedIn, people saying I'm from Nigeria, from US, from UK, from Ethiopia. They're coming from everywhere, almost India. And I think really this is great. Thank you for coming. Professor Philipp already took some of my time, so I have to rush a little bit to cover the content that I need to do. We will not rush. We'll go with the right speed, hopefully. So I'll share just my screen, and then okay. I hope you can see my screen now. Before that, we have this AHA slide. I'm not using Mentimeter, I'm using AHA slide, which is similar to Mentimeters. I can see that many of you are already there, but if you're not on AHA slide, regardless from where you come, social media or from Zoom, you need just to scan this QR code or go to your phone browser and enter ahaslide.com/edu 2031. Once you do that, you will get to this page. So please scan it now if you don't mind. And then we will use it to get your questions. We will use it to get your participation. I need your participation. I don't want you to just listen to me and that's it. You will feel tired of that. I need you to participate in this because you have lots of experience and we can use that experience to benefit us and benefit everyone here. So the first question I had on the screen, which some of you, I can see some good number already answer that one, is what are you hoping to gain from this one? I can see knowledge. This is very general about ideas, student engagement. Student engagement is important. Benefit from that. This is the Arabic one. The best app that can help. This is good. To know application technology in education. Yeah, that's again thing. I'm looking for any more specific thing that is different from that. Some insight. That's good, yeah. We're looking for highly engaged and learning session, very good, and a few more. So that's the first question, which good. I need to see your answer for a few more questions, and here is one more. Now on your app, on your phone or on your computer, if you're going through AHA slide, you will see somewhere where you can ask question. So if you ask any question, it will come on my screen here, and I'll be going through those questions. So if you have questions, please do it here. Now, when you ask a question, I may ask you to give me more information about the question or explain it more or so on. So please be prepared to ask your questions here. Okay. Why are you interested in learning about instructional design? We'll talk about what is instructional design later, by seeing that most people now saying, I would like to use the instructional design to improve my teaching, which fair enough. This is, I think, important. And there's some saying, I am managing an e-learning project, and this is important. If you're managing an e-learning project, you need to get to know about what is instructional design and how you can use it to help produce the outcome that you're looking for. I want to become an instructional designer. Many faculty nowadays thinking to move into instructional design because of their teaching experience and then their experience also in e-learning that they gained. And some people do want to do that. And this is something good. You can have a full-time job or you can be a freelancer or whatever. I want to use...
Dr. interrupting. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but a lot of the attendees are not able to find the QR code or the code to access the slides.
Good. I will put it again on the screen. Thank you for saying that. Here is the code. The code is just you go to the phone and go to any browser on the phone and type ahaslides.com/edu 2031. By the way, I sent you an email with the link that can take you here. If you read your email, you will have that in. The other option, you just open your phone, scan this QR code using...
Doctor, sorry, just to say, but it doesn't present on the screen, the QR code.
What do you mean?
I mean, it's not showing on the slide.
Still in the first slide, Dr. Hamad, the instructional design and education technology.
Oh, you're still seeing that one. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. That's good. So thank you for telling me this one. because I think I shared only let me share the screen so you will get better to see it now. Okay, thank you for that. Now you should see it. This is the code you need, or this is the URL you need to go for. So if you go for the URL, this is the URL, and this is the code. So I always use this different way, so I can flip between my slide and my this one. So I hope more of you now able to come, and I can see the number is going up. I'll wait a little bit because it's important to get more of you on this one. So I see the number is going up. This is good. Thank you for letting me know. So see now, I think Omar, will you copy and paste this URL in the
Sure, doctor.
in the chat for people who have
Sure, I'll just post it on the chat.
So most people wanted to improve their teaching using instructional design, which is really important and very good. I'm happy to see that here. And the number who need to also the similar thing to improve the course content. Okay, good. Okay, so let's move to the next one, which
sorry, doctor, just if we can just put the code again, because I couldn't find it.
You know it with the code again?
Yeah,
Okay,
if you can
now
just.
we put the code again.
Yeah. Thank you, doctor.
Okay. Now this is the second question here. Which of the following describe you are teachers, K to 12? This most of us here, or most of the people here are K to 12. We have university faculty, we have e-learning developers, and we have student, we have corporate trainers, and we have others, which we can imagine what that other is. Okay, good. Now, where are you from? This one I need to know your country. Which country you coming from? Okay. So we'll see which country has the largest number of people coming from. See, Lebanon is Jordan, India, Egypt, Lebanon. Yes, I think the spelling, sometimes you spell things different, it goes into different category. But Abu Dhabi, yeah, if you are from UAE, just use UAE. Syria, Norway, Algeria, Malaysia, just looking for new thing, Libya, Qatar, Afghanistan, Kenya, UAE, of course, Palestine, what's new? US, yeah, USA, and you're coming almost from everywhere. Ethiopia, yeah, so Ethiopia there. Sudan, Palestine, Arabic and English, Iraq, Pakistan. I'm just catching those I didn't see before. I'm trying Canada. Yeah, good. I want to move to the next one, but I am enjoying seeing this changing and moving up and down. Philippines, Philippines, so many from Philippines, that's good. Welcome from everywhere. And this is global now. We are, after this pandemic, we became truly global. We are global before, but now we connected and we all benefiting from each other and learning from each other. Okay, how do you learn best? This is a question I have for you. I'll leave it for later to do. Let me move now into my presentation. So we'll be discussing instructional design. What I'm hoping you will get from this one, you will understand what is really that instructional design. You will understand the process and the models that you can follow. There are different models to do that. Then you will get some guidelines, principles on developing engaging content. And then we'll discuss these models. And we also look at a mechanism to evaluate the experience or the result of that e-learning solution. So these are the table of content. We'll go quickly through those things and try to cover all of them. So first question, what is really instructional design? Again, instructional design is a process. It's like a process to help you to manage the project. You need to make sure you're producing the outcome that you need and you're capturing the experience of student, of the learner, student or maybe, and through designing, developing, and delivering that experience. So it's a project management, you can look at it. So you have different stakeholders, different people you deal with, the subject matter expert, the instructional designer, the graphic designer, the institution or the client or student, all of these different things. And you go through a systematic process to do that. And this systematic process, there are a number of models for it that people follow. Now, why do we really need instructional design? Basically, you need instructional design to produce instructions, to make the instructions effective, producing the outcome that the student need to get, learning outcomes that need to get in terms of knowledge, skills, competencies, behavior. So you need it to produce that. And then you need it efficient. You do it in a shorter time with less, hopefully, resources, and student can achieve the outcome in a faster way, in a more efficient way, and can repeat it as much as you want. It doesn't need, you don't need to pay cost for that repetition and steps. Then you want it to be engaging. That's given. It has to be engaging. If it's not engaging, the student will not really participate and they will lose it. And appealing, engaging are coming together and need to be cost effective as well. What do the instructional designer do really? The instructional designer do many things, and from identifying the learning needs, they speak to all the stakeholders, to faculty or subject matter expert to learn about the student and challenges or learner facing, institution goals and business goals. They do all those needs analysis to understand what is really needed to be done. And then they will come with objective and discuss it with all the stakeholders to make sure these are the objective. Sometimes when you come in a situation that a course already written and it has its learning outcomes and has all the objectives, then this step is already there. But the need of the student can be different from level to level and from environment to another environment. Then design that instructions, develop it using educational technology tools and practices, then create impactful, engaging content, and then go through the whole cycle. So what skills, if someone, you're hiring an instructional designer or you want to become an instructional designer, what the skills? Skills are common sense. You have to be creative. You need to find a creative way to get the student or the learner to achieve the learning outcome that he or she supposed to be achieved based on his or her learning path and on the job that they will be doing in the future or currently doing now. And then it has to have focus. As instructional designer, you can't play that role as a faculty. As instructional designer, you need to be focusing on the learner and understand the learner and their needs and what's going on with the learning. As instructional designer, you need to have a strong communication skills because you will be communicating with different stakeholders and different people to create the impact that you want to do. You need to be agile and producing outcomes. I will come back to the raising hand. I will pause somewhere. After maybe 70 minutes, I'll pause, and then we will get some questions and we'll continue. Learning agility, you need to be agile, so you produce outcomes faster and you get feedback from the learner, from the SME. So it's important you implement a sort of an agile process and be able to quickly move into a new thing. You understand quality and how you measure the quality and how you achieve quality. What does it mean, quality? And you need to have a project management skills. Now, learning has something called learning style, learning modality. All of us know that one. These two are mixed. Here on this slide, I have the learning modality, and the other one I have something called learning style. People sometimes have a different opinion. They think this is the learning styles, and the other one is the learning modality. But when you design any learning experience, you have to keep these two in your mind. One, how people learn, how people best learn, and this is different from one person to other person. Someone learn best using visual, but that doesn't mean that's the only way they learn is the visual. They may also can learn, I'm sure, for sure they can learn using other methods, but they are the best as the visual one. So you, and this is, you can see those are have some intersections between. If you are visual, you may also learn using audio, you may use using practical or applied skills and things like that. So these are different ways. So your curriculum, which you're creating, your content should be addressing all the learners and the way they learn. You don't just make all text or all videos or all one thing. You have to mix all of it to make sure your students are all captures and you're providing them with what they need. The other thing, we call it learning. Again, this is another thing. People can learn maybe through step by step. Some people, they like when you give them step by step. Give them step by step, they will know now, oh, this is what I need to do. Do 1, 2, 3. Others say, no, I want to talk about it. And those are talk learner. They always wanted to discuss and phrase the things in their own way and find a way to explain it to other people. So you need to give your student or the learner the opportunity to talk as well about it. Others who learn better when they debate things and research and read and find other information from different sources, this is called research learners. And others who want to create their own way of expressing those knowledge. So they write it in their own, or they have their own way of explaining it, so, or creating a new thing, or applying it as well. Here is a link on this one. When I share with you the slide, you go there, it will ask you some questions, I think 20. Based on the 20, it will tell you where you are. But you will not get 100% one of this. You will get a mix. Myself, I find I'm more here and a little here and here. So mostly I got 35 maybe here. So you will find yourself in different ways because you can learn the other way. This is not the only way you can learn. Now, this is the questions I have for you on the next slide. Is tell me yourself, and I can see many of you already have done, which is great. So then many of you are learning by step. They like step by step, but the maximum I think is visual, but visual is not really huge difference, but that's expected. Many of the people like to see things and get it presented visually and they can relate it, but there are others who researchers, I'm sure the one who is researchers, or also maybe learn better by reading and writing, or also can look at audio and video related to that. So we are everywhere, but the least one seem to be there are not that many people who would like to talk about things. When they learn something, they want to talk about it to someone else and explain it and debate it and do things like that. That doesn't seem that many, but still there are. And audio alone means, I think that's not working. You need to have some visual to support it. And with the videos now, videos are going together very well. And others who learn by practicing. Someone loves practicing. That's the best way I learn. I just do things, and then that helped me to repeat it multiple times, change some parameters and look at it different way. That's me, but many people seem also like the practical. So visual, practical, researching, and step-by-step are larger in this group we have here, and the least is audio and talking about things. Now, I see you have some questions here. I will just go them thoroughly. I would like to know how to manage the unmonitored learning. I will come to that one. That's one of the things we will talk about it. How to become instructional designer, we will come to that. How can we develop effective? I'll come to this one. أرغب معرفة خطط وتقنيات التعليم. جيد. Do you have a Telegram group? We have Telegram group for the university. Yeah. Do you also have WhatsApp group? No. How do best? Okay. Some people learn by observing. Yeah, that's okay. Agree. I'll answer this one. Okay. This is exactly visual auditory. Okay, very good. And that's it. Okay, let's go back. I can see some hands on there. Well, let me see. If you really want to raise your hand, I will lower everyone and please raise it again, because sometimes people just testing it, so they will do that. Now, if you want, you can raise your hand again. Now, I have a question for you here before I continue. Is during this 1 year, and you notice that one, during this year we had distance learning all the time. Did you notice your students are lacking something, or they are missing some knowledge skills during that? What are those skills? I can see reading and writing is one of the things that you are talking about it. Can I change the format into cloud? I'm not using, if I'm using Mentimeter, I could have done that. Writing, speaking, reading, writing skills. Yeah, it's mostly reading, writing. Yeah, I have noticed gap in reading. Yeah, okay. Okay. Active participation and sense of competition. I think that students have become dependent on cheating, and in this is the integrity that Professor Philipp spoke about it. They are way behind in many skills. That's very general. Focus at time, okay, at time, and they are distracted, yeah, because they are with the phone and the computer all the time. Reading, writing, yeah, I think reading, writing seems to be mostly the thing that affected the student while they are far from the classrooms, because they didn't have the opportunity to maybe reading, writing. You need to read and write to someone who will give you feedback on that one. And if you are not getting that feedback and encouragement to do reading and writing and discuss what you're reading and writing, that will be a challenge. And that seemed to be one of the things the student has faced. Now, good. Now, there's a concept called universal design for learning. This is one of the models that you can look at it for instructional design. Became widely accepted recently. And the idea behind it is to involve all the students. We said people learn differently. So you need to create a content and experience that involve all your students, give them equal opportunity to be successful. The other thing need to be more flexible. Student can choose material and things more flexible, do not have to go through a very fixed, rigid pathway and curriculum. So they have that flexibility to do it, and it has to be engaging. So it has to engage the student to do that. And these are the three principles they have. Engagement, you can say for all. You have to have engaging for all different learners, and the way you can stimulate and interest them and motivate them. Your presentation should be on a different ways. And this is all based on neuroscience knowledge, where the brain has a part for why, and the engagement get you the why this is being done and why you have to do it and why it's done. And the other one is related to what, which presentation is knowledge. You get this knowledge in different ways, in video, in presentation, and animation, and in text, and in all different ways. So this will address the what, and then this is the how, the action and expression. When they engage into practical ways and the way they can express their understanding and learning, then they will learn better. So if you address why and what and how, you will be able to engage larger number of students, and that will help. This is a short video. Well, I'll put the video on, but maybe I need to sure if this is optimized for video clip. Share computer science. Yeah, this one will be good. Listen to this video quickly.
This teacher needs to meet a curriculum goal, and she's got a very diverse group of students. And so does this teacher. And this one. Most do. In fact, research shows that the way people learn is as unique as their fingerprints. What does this mean for teachers of today? Classrooms are highly diverse, and curriculum needs to be designed from the start to meet this diversity. Universal design for learning is an approach to curriculum that minimizes barriers and maximizes learning for all students. Whoa, that's a fancy term. Universal design for learning. Let's unpack it a bit. Let's think about the word universal. By universal, we mean curriculum that can be used and understood by everyone. Each learner in a classroom brings her own background, strengths, needs, and interests. Curriculum should provide genuine learning opportunities for each and every student. Now let's think about the word learning. Learning is not one thing. Neuroscience tells us that our brains have three broad networks. One for recognition, the what of learning, one for skills and strategies, the how of learning, and one for caring and prioritizing, the why of learning. Students need to gain knowledge, skills, and enthusiasm for learning, and a curriculum needs to help them do all three. But every learner is unique, and one size does not fit all. So how do we make a curriculum that challenges and engages diverse learners? This is where the word design comes in. A universally designed building is planned to be flexible and to accommodate all kinds of users, with and without disabilities. It turns out that if you design for those in the margins, your building works better for everyone. Curb cuts and ramps are used by people in wheelchairs, people with strollers, and people on bikes. Captioning on TV serves people who are deaf, people learning English, people in gyms, and spouses who get to sleep at different times. UDL takes this idea and applies it to the design of flexible curriculum. UDL goes beyond access because we need to build in support and challenge. So how do we use the UDL framework to make learning goals, methods, materials, and assessments that work for everyone? First, ask yourself, what is my goal? What do I want my students to know, do, and care about? Then ask, What barriers in the classroom might interfere with my diverse students reaching these goals? To eliminate the barriers, use the 3 UDL principles to create flexible paths to learning so that each student can progress. Number 1, provide multiple means of representation. Present content and information in multiple media and provide varied supports. Use graphics and animation, highlight the critical features, activate background knowledge, and support vocabulary so that students can acquire the knowledge being taught. Number 2, provide multiple means of action and expression. Give students plenty of options for expressing what they know and provide models, feedback, and supports for their different levels of proficiency. Number 3, provide multiple means of engagement. What fires up one student won't fire up another. Give students choices to fuel their interests and autonomy. Help them risk mistakes and learn from them. If they love learning, they will persist through challenges. And remember, always keep in mind the learning goal. Get rid of barriers caused by the curriculum and keep the challenge where it belongs. And that's it. Okay, quick recap. Show the information in different ways, allow your students to approach learning tasks and demonstrate what they know in different ways, and offer options that engage students and keep their interest.
Okay, good. Here you will find, I think I put their website somewhere. I think you can, the address is here. Yeah, this is the website, is cas.org. You will find so many content there. You will find samples of syllabi that you can use for your classroom. And there you will find some examples and case studies and so many things about UDL on their website. These are also 5 examples of how you can apply universal design in the classroom, starting from posting the goals that you want to achieve on that day, assigning options, assignment options, giving different options to the student, a flexible workspace. They can arrange their space on the way they like, and also they can study on different ways, and regular feedback. You give them feedback, and the different type of feedback, will come to it later, and also digital and audio text to do. So how are you planning to use UDL? If you like UDL, are you planning to use it in your classroom or in your teaching? How are you doing that? Take a moment just to think of how UDL can be used in your classroom. Just think of that, how really you're going to do this. While you do that, I look at this here, and any comments coming from. Yeah, lesson planning is good way to do that. Differentiate task, yes, this is important. So you differentiate task based on pre-assessment questions and also based on the learner. That's important. Student engagement, design curriculum, and implementing different teaching styles. By designing curriculum and implementing different teaching styles, again, I can help extensively with different. Okay, if someone wants to talk about this one, now is the time to raise your hand. We have a lot of things to do, but we have still time, I think. So let's look at who raised his hand. Karima, I'll give you the microphone if you want to speak. Get ready. You need to unmute your microphone and talk about it, if whatever you want to talk about it. You seem that Karima, you have a problem with the microphone. I'll go to Hassan. Hassan, you need to unmute your microphone. You want to speak. Mino, one just be successful. That will be good enough now. Then we can move. Mino, go ahead. Yeah.
Hello. Good
Yes,
evening.
hello. How are you? Good evening.
Good. So this is very interesting topic, and I have so many ideas related to this. I mean, it can be used very effectively to solve many problems, like especially science. Like if I'm teaching chemistry, so it can be used as an effective tool to differentiate, of course, and to help with to help kids with special learning requirements. So yes, if we plan it and include different steps like visual, creativity, and auditory, and like quizzes, so it will definitely going to help, especially in science, I think. So yes, we can do a lot of things with this.
Thank you, Mino. Bendo. One more, and then we will, because we don't have time, so I need to rush a little bit on the next topic. Sobrin.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Hamid.
Pleasure.
In fact, I'm thinking about the Udl in differentiated instruction and how we can benefit from this to give our students options and reach the minimum outcomes with them. And then I will focus with them on the exciting things that they can do further in accomplishing these outcomes. So the idea here, how we can reach all students with the minimum, because we believe all that our students, they have different abilities, different interests, strengths, so we can reach all outcomes, the minimum outcomes that shall be accomplished for our students, and then I can think of what is amazing for these students to do beyond.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Just one point I want to make here. The UDL is not meant for the group who are not who have special needs. It's meant for every student, because every student has his or own learning style, as they said in the videos, like the fingerprint. And you have to make sure that all are involved, all are engaged, not only the student with high performance or the student with lower performance. You need it to all your students. Thank you very much. I think we will proceed. Then we'll have the opportunity to get our discussion. Now, one of the very famous instructional design model, they call it ADDIE, and ADDIE stands for Analyze, Design, Develop, Implement, and Evaluate. It's like a project management system that help you to produce the learning experience or learning outcomes, or produce the content that will help your student. And ADDIE is there for a long time. It has some challenges. It's like a waterfall. You have to finish the first step to go to the next step. You cannot develop without design without finishing the analysis, and you cannot develop without finishing the design. So it's somehow, if you get to the last stage and you discover something wrong, you need to go back from the beginning. It will be very expensive, especially if you're running a big project that has lots of resources and people and stuff like that. But there's another one called SAM, which is similar to ADDIE, but done in a smaller cycle. It's a more agile. So you analyze, you design, you produce outcome, you get it to the people to evaluate it, and then you come back and go enhance it and continue that circle until it becomes perfect. It means people are satisfied of that one. ADDIE is again a project management system. It has these 5 things. The analysis stage, where you understand the learner, you understand what you need to achieve, you understand the environment, the business goals that need to be achieved, and so on. Then you take all this design. If you spend really good time to capture all those things, then you will be able to come with a designing a solution where you can here create the flow, the layout, and you look at all the aspects of how the system will be used by your student or your client, user interface, and all those components. Once you finish the design stage, you can go into now the implementation, where you build that system. You develop that system. This is the development. You develop the system, and then implementation, basically you use it with the student. You just start using it as a learning tools, and then you evaluate it to find the effectiveness of this new learning tools that you created or content in this place. So this is the ADI, and ADI is there for a long time, as we said. There is a new one that people talking about it, especially the instructional designer, and they think it will change how things are going on the corporate side, which they call it action mapping. And action mapping is based on a book written by Kathy Moore. She wrote this book, and she focused on two things: asking people what do they need to do, not really to know. You see, know is crossed. They will not think of the knowledge, what knowledge is needed. What knowledge is needed is the least important in that. But this is an action, this is practical. So what they need to do, look at, for example, if you have a call center or IT support professional, or someone who handling accounting and payment, or someone who is running a certain machinery. Yeah, what's important here, what they really need to do, what the task, the activities they have to do, and you focus on that one. And once you know, then you ask why they are not doing it. They are not doing it because they are not trained, or they don't have the skill, or because of they are not motivated, or what the reason. So you need to address it. If it is a motivation, it requires a different way to be addressed. You need the company to solve that problem. But if it is lack of skills or expertise, then you can design it. And what they do, they take it into a mind map software, the number of them, and build it. So the steps of doing action mapping, starting by analyzing the performance problem. They have an employee who need to do X, or a student who will be employee in the future and need to be able to perform this task. This is more for applied education. And here, is he prepared to do it or not prepared to do it? If not prepared, then you find there is a performance issue here. And then you identify potential solution. This can be done by giving him training on this, or giving her training on that, or providing certain skills. And then designing that learning or performance activities, which will be activities. We'll see some example, one example soon that will help the learner learn that one. So these are the steps usually the instructional designer will go through, or the project will go through. If you are using action mapping, you start by a kick-off meeting. You bring all the stakeholders, the employees representative, the subject matter expert, the one who knows how this is done and is expert in it, the client, and client can be different from the subject matter expert. Client is the one who is paying for it, basically, and all the stakeholders that needed, putting them in the one meeting and identify the company goal, what you want to achieve here. For example, if it is a call center, yeah, you want, for example, to capture 90% of the people calling, or you want 10% of them to buy the product, or you want to resolve the issue of 60% of them. These are a business goal. They are KPIs. So you decide what is the KPI you wanted to achieve. Once you have that KPI in mind, you look at now the action map. The action map is basically use mind mapping tools. I use I use mind mirror or mind mister, this one, this software. If you use this software or anything similar, I'll show you just quickly. We'll do a quick action map here. It's basically start in the middle here. You can say, I want to achieve 10% sales. Yeah, whatever is the objective. I'm just putting a number here in place 90. And now what are the actions that we need the call center to do? What they need to do? And then you add all those actions. For example, greet every customer nicely. Maybe that's one thing. Okay, the other thing, explain our products. Yeah, this is an action he need to do, and so on. So you can put all those actions, and each one can maybe have a sub actions that need to be done, and you can do that sub action. So you come with those actions, and then you ask a question why they are not doing it. So you can add it here in the node, or you can add another one and saying they are not doing it because they are not trained on how to greet people properly. Yeah, that one reason. And then you build the reason why they are not. Yeah, then you continue with that one. So a mind map software like Miro or Mind Mister will do the job, or a piece of paper where you put the objective in the middle and you put all the actions around it, and then you branch those actions into sub actions that need to be done. So you know exactly the skills that employee or that person need to have. And those skills now you start building it into your learning experience. And let's look at that. So this is the map. And then look at the priority, which one I need to focus on it, with the one that will produce the more benefit or impact to the company. Then we will do this first, and then we'll do the next one. And then create a prototype and explain it to the people and give to them to try it. Just build one of those actions, not all of the actions, so people they can see the design, the flow, the interactivity, and then they can relate that one. Then once you've done that, develop all the practical activities, obtain feedback, and obtain project approval and measure the impact. Now I'll show you one example here. I want to copy this one. Let me do this. Let me put it in the chat for the people on Teams, but I'll open it also for people in Teams. Let me send it to everyone. This one, if you look at it, maybe you need to follow me, is better than you look at it, but later you can look at it. And let me show you this example. So this is an example done by something called H5P, which we will talk about it. It's a technology, open source, free. You can use it to create something similar to this one. And let me put it on the screen and let's go through it quickly. So this is a scenario based. It's about skills, home visit. If a practitioner or advisor, this is more related to advising people on different things. And here is the beginning, is just explaining this one done by the University of, I have a problem with my, yeah, I need to move this one up. Okay, good. And then how it works, they will take you through the steps and show you how it works. Once you're done with that one, we can introduction is an issue. I'm facing. Proceed. Yeah, and my screen is not showing me fully. Yeah, let's go there. So let's proceed and look at this. Now will be good. This is the case, and this is a business case developed by a few professors, and explaining that there is a situation here. You can read it. And then is someone who is having some difficulties at being maybe harassed or maybe put under pressures, and someone going to visit there and try to support with that situation. So let me proceed. Here is the video. So the practitioner came to the house, is going to the house and talking to, knocking the door.
Who is it? What do you want?
Now, if you are in that situation and you hear someone answering this way, someone's angry, worried, what you will do answer. And now they put some questions for you here, you can answer. So refer to arrange appointments. Say, I have an appointment I want to meet, or is person concerned for the client, say, oh, I'm worried why you are doing like that, or refer mental health to refer mental assessment, or replay the previous video. Let me say this is, I think, the right answer, but let's say this is the answer.
The people at the hospital were worried about you and asked me to visit you. Please open the door.
There is nothing to worry about.
So this was not the right answers that I selected, not the best response. So take me back to here, and now the best, maybe this is the...
Hi, I'm Ann Jones, a community nurse. I'm here for the appointment we arranged yesterday.
Okay, please come in.
Hello. As I said at the door, my name is Ann Jones. I'm a nurse who visits families in the community. We offer many services in this community for young families. You might be interested in these.
Okay, would you like to sit down?
Yeah, where you will sit. Now, as you see, it's a long video, but it's a process of presenting a situation, asking the learner to decide what to do. And based on that, the decision the user will do, or the student or the learner, you will be giving feedback if this is the best way to do it or not the best way, and then guide them through that process. And this is something produced by using action mapping example. Now we're done with that one. I have a question for you, but we'll maybe skip that at the moment and continue with I think you will get the question now. So now, learning, when you go to the classroom, you enter the classroom until you leave the classroom, you will be doing some events. You will be doing something. If I have a question for you here, tell me what are those events that you will do from the time you enter the classroom until you leave, the most important events you will do. And can that be replicated in e-learning or hybrid learning or online learning? This is the question I have for you. Let me bring back my Mentimeter slide and go to that question. Good, I can see some major reference here. We're using Google Meet, we'll differentiate activities, we'll engage learner, we'll give feedback, we will listen, we will have some panel discussion or things like that. We'll do assessment, we'll do brainstorming. All those are important activities. This is a little bit general, but Zoom there. Okay. So this guy, his name, the researcher, again came with 9 of them that you need to do. And these are the 9 things. Is you need first to grab or gain your student attention. You have to do something to make them listen to you, watch you, and follow you and do things you're doing. So that's something important to do. Then you need to inform them about the objectives you want to achieve on that day in a more way that they understand. Stimulate recall of prior learning, present the content, which most of us focus sometimes on just presenting the content without looking at all those previous things you need to do, and provide learning guidance while they are learning. It's not about Zoom or Team or whatever it is. It's about the learning process that the student go through and the activities he or she has to be engaged in. And then encourage them to perform better and provide them with feedback and provide assessment, assess their performance and how they doing there, and enhance retention of the knowledge. You don't want them to get your knowledge and forget it later, which or the skills as well. So these are the 9. There are more details here on every one of it. So if you want to gain the attention of your student, you need to find a way to stimulate their interest by using surprising things and engaging ideas. So you can maybe come with a story at the beginning or ask a question that make them provoke some thinking and start thinking, oh, we're talking today about graffiti. What did you notice when thing like that? And what will happen if you drop 2 big objects from the 10th floor? One is 10 kilogram, one 5 kilogram. Now, what do you think will happen? Which one will get to the floor faster than the other, or something like that? So those things, they are not familiar with it, and it get them to think about it and start thinking, oh, what will happen? These are important type of question which are related to the course or to the class that you're doing that day, not something completely different. So you can do that. You can tell them what are the objectives they need to do today and put it in a more activity-based and more skills-based and knowledge-based as well. The criteria for or standards they have to meet. We need to, for example, calculate this based on YZ or whatever it is. So what criteria they have to follow to meet that? Let me put it in a big like this, maybe better. Then have the learner establish criteria themselves, and then include course objective on all assessment. You give them a quiz, say this is related to this outcome that we discussed or objective. We are today want you to be able to solve an equation of this type, and this question is related to that, or understand the relationship between X and YZ. So you need to relate the assessment to the learning outcome. So they know this is why they're doing it. They're doing it because they need to achieve that outcome. Then stimulate recall of previous learning by, again, asking questions is a great way to do about their previous experience and what they have learned before, and then ask students about their understanding of previous concept to make sure they are prepared and ready to go to the next one. You're doing this one, I think, in your class, or most of you doing that, I'm sure. And relate previous course information to the current course. These are all needed to get the student more excited about what's coming now. We discussed yesterday X, Y, Z. You notice what will happen if this will like that, and then you start linking those things together. And then you present the content and present it in different ways, in a more engaging, and use multimedia and use other type of content that get the student to learn through learning management system and other tools. Provide guidance for the student while they are learning and doing practices and doing activities. You provide them with guidance as they go. and then encourage them to learn. So you can facilitate student activities, provide formative assessment opportunities for the student, design effective quiz and tests to help them measure their learning and practice their learning, which they have done. Then provide them with feedback, and there are a number of feedback here. One is you confirm their understanding or what they do is right. The other one is evaluate their evaluative feedback that evaluate the learning, and then remedial feedback. You tell them, well, you have missing this knowledge or these skills to be able to do this one, go back and do that one. And you give them some content or resources that where they can do that one, and descriptive analytical feedback, and pre-evaluation and self-evaluation, peer evaluation and self-evaluation. So you get a student to evaluate each other, and also they evaluate themselves. Are you able to do X, Y, Z? Then the student go and evaluate himself, saying he is able to do this or that. Then the assessment, this goes through all the different type of quizzes and assessment you have in your class that you need to do. Will you do this in every class? You should get the opportunity to give the student to practice this thing. Doesn't have to be assessment for a grade, but assessment for learning. That's what you need. Enhanced retentions at the end of the course, or class, or during the class, you avoid isolating course content. You don't say this is, today we're discussing this, nothing to do with the previous one, unless really it is doesn't have any relation, but this will not be the case in 99% of the things. So present it as a coherent content that relate to each other, and this way the student will relate this to that, and they'll be able to understand how they are related to each other, and allow them to convert information from one format to other, from text to graph, from graph to video, from presentation to whatever. So give them opportunity to present the data in a different way in your course, and promote deep learning, where they ask questions, articulate their understanding of the questions, and achieve the goals of the course. Now, from the above, what are the most important principles? Now, this is another one, sorry. What are the most important principles to keep in mind when creating or using multimedia? In e-learning, multimedia is important, and we have to use multimedia to present our course. Now, what are the principles that you need to keep? I'm very happy to see this one now grow, and it has so many activities that you need to do. This is good. Now let's go to the next question. This related to multimedia. So you're adding a video, you're adding a graphic, or you're adding some interactivity to your course. What are the principles you need to keep in your mind to make sure this multimedia you are using is effective, it's helping students to learn and help achieving the outcome that you need to achieve? And the instructional designer will think of this. When faculty ask him or ask her, create for me this video, he will ask him, what do you want to achieve from that video? What do you want to achieve from this objective? And then also look at how to make that objective or video or multimedia really effective. So there are a number of questions here, answers here: appealing or attractive. It needs to be appropriate and engaging, correct, different type of level of student, addressing different student, alignment to standards, very important. Safety is critical. Again, this is the multimedia, but again, safety can be related to the content, maybe. Interactivity and engagement, adequate length and time, very good. It is accessible. You can open it on different devices with no issue, and it will run. it keeps student engaged. That's again suitable to student needs and level. Engagement, user-friendly, effective. Make sure it's too short. Okay, not too short. I think what you meant is should be the right length to do. Sorry for those people, I pushed you to the other page by mistake. But yeah, but these are the things. Let's go and see what we have to have here. So there is another book that you can read. We looked at Kathy Moore book about the action mapping, which very useful book. I advise you to read. This is another book by Mayer and Roth Clark. And they talk about e-learning and the science of instruction. And here they look at the principles for multimedia. And there are 12 principles. We'll go through them quickly. So we're not going to, it should be the one principle called Coherent Principle. What's important here, human learn best when extra things or distracting material is not included. So to avoid adding an image just because you want to add an image, and the image has nothing to do with the text you have. This is extra thing, or adding extra text that's not needed. So on the screen, the student should have only what they really need and what will help them learn that thing. Because you need to avoid cognitive overload. So student thinking, what's the relation between this and that, why, and looking left and right and getting confused. So focus on what matters for the student learning and avoid distractions and extra thing that has no value, except you just want it to look maybe beautiful. Beautiful is not what here. The key is what the student need to achieve, what they need to learn, what they need to get from that one. That's what is important. So cut out the extra things. Use only the information that learner needs. The other principle is important. Human learn best when they are shown exactly what to pay attention to on the screen. What's related to the previous one? Don't show things that they don't need to pay attention to it. It's not adding extra things to them. So just focus on what make they need to look at it. So otherwise they will be looking everywhere and they will not get that much thing. So use features such as highlighting important words. Like here I highlighted human learn best when shown what to pay attention to. If you just read the black one, you will get the message without reading the whole thing. So those important things, you highlight them in bold or different color, or use an arrow to point to them. This will grab the attention because these are important. They need to know. Redundancy principle, human learn best with narration and graphics, as opposite to narration, graphics, and text. So if you put text and voice over and graphic all together, doing the same thing, talking about the same thing, that will confuse the student. So we'll be reading the text, listening to the voice, and get confused. So use only one of the two together. So to avoid again the overload. The other principle, human learn best when relevant text and visual are physically closer together. So if you have an image and you have a caption somewhere, put them closer, or have a text talking about that image, put them closer. When they are closer, they will feel the relationship between them and they will not be looking far from the image or from the text to get the information. So putting this together will help students learn. So this, if you're designing your curriculum, keep this in mind. Don't put the text left and image somewhere far from it. They will not be able to, they will have a difficulty of linking the two together. But if they are together, text and graphic together, that will make really sense. An example, sometimes you have an illustration, and on the illustration you have A, B, C. and somewhere written A is apple and C is orange. It takes them too much time to look here and there and link the thing together. Why don't you write apple in the place of A and instead and B, or you put the orange? So put them all together in one place will be better. A human learn best when corresponding words and visuals are presented together instead of a similar concept, in my opinion. Okay. Now, segmentation. This one we know, I think, because you cannot present the whole thing to the student as one bulk. You need to divide it into smaller chunk. So human learn best when information is presented in segments rather than a long continuous stream. So you put them into segment, that will be good. And if you're teaching, give your student in the class activities to do between those different segments, to you change the mood and change the rhythm of or patterns of the way things going. You can use this principle to provide learner with more control over their learning. Okay, so divide it into segment. They can go from A to B, or someone want to go A to C if they already know B, or things like that. Or someone want to watch a video, and instead of video want to watch something else. So those divided into segment allow them to be more adaptive and more personalized. A human learn more efficiently if they already know some of the basics. So you need to have some prerequisite knowledge, and this is given, and you have prerequisite knowledge that will enable students to learn. You cannot expect them to do things that require prerequisite knowledge without helping them to get that prerequisite knowledge. That can be done in previous course, or maybe in the same class, they need to have the prerequisite knowledge. So you need some introductory guidelines to provide them, or sheet where the terminology and equations and steps needed to be done, you give it to them before they go and do the activity, and this can be done online. Again, the modality of principle, human learn best from visual and spoken words than from visual and printed word. Yeah, so voiceovers help a lot, and using audio helps a lot the student to learn. If you have visual and spoken word, they will learn better than visual and printed word. And here, this is to look at that. Now, multimedia principle, human learn best from words and pictures than just word alone. Word pictures will do better. If you just put a text there, they learn, but they don't learn the best, most people. And if you looked at the assessment we did, you notice that most of you like the visual, and they like also to read, and two together will get you there. Okay. Personalization. Human learn best from more informal conversational voice than formal, and use the word like you will be able to do. Use something that get the student feel you talking personally to him, and that also will be important. Voice, human learn best from human voice than computer voice. I have said now computer voice made huge jump recently, and they became better. But still, when you start feeling, oh, this is computer, you start losing interest in that one. But I think in the future, maybe computer will be much better. I know some tools that they are really amazing, and maybe you can look at some of them in the future. Image principle, human do not necessarily learn better from talking head video. We have a video and someone just talking without any visual things there, and they don't learn better. Now, again, this is still, video is being used everywhere, and maybe there is a debate on this one. Some people will learn, but not majority of the people will not learn better, maybe using just someone talking to them in front of them without any illustration or things that will help. Now we're done with this one. We will jump quickly to the visual design principles. Now, you're instructional designer, again, you need to build those visual design to make it appealing, to make it easy to get the knowledge. This is not long one, we'll do it quickly. But before I do that, I have a question for you. I need you to name 3 important visual design principles. What do you think those 2 important visual design principles that you need to know? I can drink water until you do a few of this. Now we're talking about visual design, and I can see color is there, realistic, text, contains objectives. Yeah, you're getting there. Okay, so let's go through them while you do yours. I like that. I'll come back, I'll find this one is full of things. There are 5. These are the 5 that you need to pay attention to when you design visual element. They are basics. You don't need to be a graphic designer to be able to master them. I think you still can master them without. So we'll go through them quickly. So the contrast, you can see white, black, red, green, big, small. So the shape, the color, the font, these are, you can bring nice contrast on that one, which will be more appealing to. For example, here I used white and black, have the red because it's in our logo and on our branding. Alignment is important. So aligning the text, the images, the thing together. If you look at this one, it doesn't look aligned. But if you look at this, it looks better, more aligned. So aligning things is important in that. The other things, something went wrong here. Why this happened like this? Okay. Proximity, again, how things are closer to each others means they have some relationship between them. If you have an image and you have the caption, put the caption closer to the image, of course, yeah. And also if you have a text there, put them together if they are related. Now, if I do this, sometimes you will feel like this, there's something missing here. Something is missing in the middle here, you'll think, but they are one together. It has to be closer like this if they are related to each other. The white space is very important. Using white space to the top, to the left, to the right, to the buttons, making them making them equal and done properly, you can do lots of things. And this quote from Mozart is in music, the beauty is not only in the tones, also the silence between those tones. For this, then the space is really, really important. Now, if you look at this one, you have it this way, you can have more, you see more space here and less space here and more space. It doesn't look nice. If I put it like this, now you start feeling this is much better, maybe looking. I'm sure there more improvement can be done there, getting text closer to the illustrations and also having the space done nicely. That will improve the design of your page. Balance between different things in terms of the weight or of the object, the color, the texture, spaces. This is important. Repetitions, when you repeat things, like if you're using buttons everywhere, keep those buttons the same color. If you're using some directions like going left and right, keep it left and right. Don't change it somewhere and say next and previous. You stay on the same, because the user will be familiar with those way of using your learning object, and they don't need to every time learn what you mean by this one. So we repeat the things exactly the same, use the same font, use the same font size, use the same color, use all those things, and repeat it across the design without changing it too much. The last thing I'll talk about it, I think this is the last, or maybe there's something before. This is the last, yeah, I think. E-learning tools. There's so many tools. I usually do more practical session, but today we are getting you to the instructional design concept. You need to get this concept. I think these workshops, we need a week maybe on its own. So we need a workshop on instructional design where we go through the implementation and creating this content, evaluating them, and things like that. Still have the evaluation I need to do, which I have it here. We'll finish it in the next minutes. But these are the tools. You can group them in 4 if you want. One is related to development environment, where you create those learning objects and you create the sequence, you create table of content, you create interactivity, you add questions, all those things. You need something like articulate storyline or iSpring or H5P. H5P is open source, is free, developed by MIT, but there's a free version and there's a paid version of that one as well. Is available, but the others, the storyline and iSpring, they look like a PowerPoint presentation, and you can add to your slide activities where drag and drop, hotspot, matching, some memory games if you want to use memory game, and you can go further here to add some coding. So you do some calculations and things in the background. So you can create a simulation of things. So this is the development environment that you can use. Then you have video productions. Many Vietnamese disappeared. I think it is not disappeared, it will come back, but it will come back through GoDaddy. Vietnamese, basically you write a text and it will create a video for you. You just give the script to it and it will do for you the video with voiceover, with nice videos and text on the screen. It's amazing tool. I use it a lot, but now it's disappeared. I think December it will be back as part of GoDaddy Studio. The alternative to Vietnamese is Pictory, which I'm using as well. I have to say it's not the same as Vietnamese. This is more advanced. It uses artificial intelligence. I think Dr. Ghazal will be talking about more advanced, more details about artificial intelligence, but this one uses artificial intelligence and build the video for you. And then you can do many things with the video. There is Synthesia. It's again amazing one, which will allow you to create a video with a human avatar. It's really human. I'll show you quickly before we go. And you look at, this is one thing you maybe need to know. And here is Cynthia. Just quickly, I know it's 7, but half. I will just let's take this one. This one basically is created using.
Hello there. This is a simple but useful template to help you to communicate almost anything you want. Stay with me to see how it works. In this slide, you can point out key information about your presentation. Feel free to add extra
So
bullets
this
if
is
you
very
need them.
simple. If I want to create one, I click here, I get all those characters. They are human being rendered in avatar. So you can create your own one. If you send them your video, then they will create one of you, and then anything you write here, it will say it. But you need to remember just that principle of people learn better using human. But let's try instructional design. Okay, let's take a text just quickly. I'll just show you what will be, hope it will, yeah. Where is it? Yeah, if you just come here and paste it here, and then you just listen to it. Now,
Our authoring solution turns.
and then if you want generate, see if this will happen quickly. It takes time to generate this video and get it ready. So now it's working on it. So you will get something like this one, for example, which I just created.
Welcome. In this video, we will discuss what is instructional design, what is the job of an instructional designer, and the responsibilities of an instructional designer.
So
Instructional design,
yeah. So in summary, there are many tools that you can use, and this some of those who create video. The other video tools you can use iMovie, use other things. Now, if you want to produce graphics, the Photoshop and Illustrator are two industry standards, but there's so many other tools that you can use that are can produce the same result. You need to use some stocks, images, videos, and you can go to maybe Adobe stocks. You can purchase that one, and you can get so many images or free pack to use in your course. So you need to be careful of the copyright and not using content from other people. This will provide you with some ready videos and images for you. The last thing I'll cover just how to evaluate this experience. You create a content, you give it to the student, they used it, and you need to find out, is that really what need to be done? And Kirkpatrick came with a model of 4 levels, and we usually do level 1 and level 2 as educators, but we need, in fact, to go to level 3 and level 4. So what is level 1? Again, because I changed my computer, this is again something you need to remember. When you keep changing your computer, maybe from Mac to Windows, level 1 is the satisfaction one. So after the student went through experience, you give them a survey, and they answer this survey, how they satisfied with the learning experience, with the content, with the flow information, with the depth, with the practical, with the interactivity. You put a questionnaire to cover all those different aspects. And based on that, you can see if they are satisfied or they are having some issues. And you go and address those issues based on that. And this can be done either in survey only, or you can also have a focus group, bring a small group and go through those questions and see their feedback on that. And then you make the adjustment that needed. So this is the level 1, just satisfaction. Level 2, where you can come to the learning outcome and do the exams and quizzes and see how the student perform before doing this course and after that course. So here you can do a formal assessment to look at their knowledge, skills, attitude, confidence, and commitment to learning. And that can be done again through assessment, through exams or interview style questions. You ask the student about their learning, and they ask them to demonstrate their skills and knowledge that related to the course learning outcome. And this is we do because that's a formal learning to do. Again, it's important when you do the assessment, you link it to the learning outcome. The third one is the behavior. Well, this here you will measure their behavior and see how that has make them change their behavior and how they apply what they learn to their life, to what they are doing in their work or in their life. And that's the next level, by observing student in actions or learner in actions doing the things and how that has impacted the training, has impacted their behavior in place. And the last one, which again, I had this being changed like this. The last one is the business goal. Now, what did this learning help us achieve the business goal? We looked at that example of increasing sales by 10%. Did this learning has allowed the student to do that? And you look at the KPIs and business outcomes that generated after you trained and upskilled your staff or the student as well. And this more apply for corporate environment, not maybe for schools, but maybe there's a creative way to look at it, and maybe that can be the impact on their graduate attribute or things like that related. Now, finished, done. I know I took more than the time, but I have one question for you. This is the question. And let's go back to our AHA slides. Where is the AHA slides? Here is the AHA slides. See, I told you, you will continue doing it. And this is what I like about you. Now, here is the last question. What did you take from this one? What do you take away from this session? What did you remember? Or do you think this is important tomorrow when I go to my class, or on I will be thinking of using it and making it work, okay? And help this. So I can see UDL, Universal Design Theme, new models to use in my classroom. Very happy to hear that. I'm gonna to take in my classes engage student, yeah, that you do every day. Instructional design concept. This would help me make presentation better. Good. Learning modality and learning style. Use video tools to work in my content. AD, how to design my lesson with UDL. Very good. Read more about UDL. I see many of you interested, but there's lots of content there. And it's amazing concept, I think. The principles are really great. The challenge is they take time just for you to do. And the good thing, there's so many case studies and examples of faculty who use UDL. Good thing nowadays you can connect with these people. Send them a message saying, okay, I'm going to use it in my class, what I can do. Talk to them, I link with them. It become easier now to do that. You can talk to anyone nowadays if that person is having time to do. But that's something you maybe need to look at it. And there are many here. I see 6 pages of this. How to make a presentation learning environment. I'm glad to see you have all those good things and apply the idea of instructional design. My apology, just I was too fast giving the time we have. But the idea is to give you an introduction to know the big picture, and then those details one by one you can start yourself going through it, or hopefully in the future, we will come with more detailed instructional design certificate that will go into more of this. Model in design, a new model in learning. Okay, good. Good, thank you. Then from my side.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hamad, for the great and very informative presentation. A lot of practical and direct tips and guidelines for everyone. I think they're relevant to all our practices. I hope everyone enjoyed the session like I know I did. See you all tomorrow again at 5 p.m. in Module 2, Technology Integration in the Classroom. Thank you and have a great evening, everyone.